past week, it was really a roller coaster ride. I think it started off on Monday when the market began reacting to the attempted assassination of candidate and former President Trump on the previous Saturday. And so we saw small cap stocks really rally. Larger cap stocks actually suffered quite a bit. Those Magnificent Seven weren't looking so magnificent anymore. And so that was the first repricing that we saw.
Did that surprise you at all, or was that about as what was going to be expected?
Well, so it kind of surprised me in the sense of what triggered it, right? I don't think anybody was anticipating the assassination attempt. And so that was the surprise. Now, the response of the market to that event, to me, was not too surprising, mainly because that's kind of what we saw back in 2016 when there was the surprise election of President Trump. So those small cap stocks, they performed really well relative to those large caps.
So that was Monday. We waited a day, and then Tuesday the tech wreck? Or at least that's when it started?
That's right. Yeah, the tech wreck began on Tuesday.
Explain that. What was happening?
Yeah, so the technology sector in general, it is a broad area. It includes semiconductor manufacturers in that. So that's part of the technology sector. ASML, so it's this Danish company, they are really responsible for making a lot of the equipment that goes into making the semiconductors. And there was the announcement after they released their earnings, and their earnings, honestly, they were really good, better than expected. But the U.S. government announced that it was planning on trying to crack down on their ability and other companies' ability to sell their technology to China. It all of a sudden meant people had to reassess what the outlook for those companies looks like. So even though they beat in terms of earnings and sales and the guidance was good, wow, there was that political risk that sort of popped up, and that sent the shares lower and affected the broader technology area.
Was Taiwan Semi affected at all?
Yes, yeah. Taiwan Semiconductor, TSMC is the ticker on that one. A lot of people know them by that instead of the actual name. They were affected not only by that announcement, but then also when candidate and former President Trump said that when it comes to our relationship with Taiwan, maybe Taiwan should actually be responsible for paying more for their defense. It didn't seem like this foregone conclusion that the U.S. would just step in if China decided to invade. So they were kind of hit from a couple different angles, even though, again, their earnings, their fundamentals seemed really solid.
Let's flip to the Fed. We're now in July. That was one of the potential rate cut months. Still looking at September, or is there a hint that it could be even yet this month?
Yeah, there's this growing expectation that maybe July 31st, when they have their policy announcement, that's the next one, that maybe they're going to cut then. I think that's still a little bit too soon. They have been changing their tune lately because we did have a couple months in a row of decent inflation data. Growth numbers have been slowing. It's still okay. I think that one of the negatives on the growth outlook has really been an increase in initial unemployment claims. But now there's an expectation that, well, September is almost a foregone conclusion.
In our final 30 seconds, what are we seeing with earnings?
Yeah, so earnings has been sort of all over the board. Big banks did okay. Their share prices weren't necessarily rewarded. But when I'm looking as far as the week ahead here, we have some big names coming up. We have UPS, General Motors, Kimberly-Clark, Tesla, Alphabet, all reporting on Tuesday. This is actually a very exciting week for those market junkies out there.